You think this is just another altcoin cycle? Just another August where a random coin spikes and dies? Look closer. What's happening right now with XDC in August 2025 isn't hype. It's not coincidence. It's choreographed. This was planned long before the charts turned green. Before retail even knew what trade finance meant. Before central banks started whispering about tokenized value flows. While the market was distracted by the loudest projects. While influencers were chasing likes with memecoins and empty predictions, XDC was being embedded deep into the plumbing of global finance. Quietly, deliberately, relentlessly, it was integrated into trade finance pilots, aligned with ISO 20022 compliance, built to handle trillions in global commerce, not for speculation, but for replacement. Now ask yourself this: why is it August 2025? And suddenly the switch is flipping. Why now? Because this was never random. This was rollout. You are not early to a trend. You are standing at the edge of a financial transformation that was mapped out years ago. So the question is, will you recognize the blueprint before the world sees the building? Because by the time CNBC talks about it, by the time the retail crowd comes running, by the time institutions publicly admit they've already adopted it, the price won't be where it is now, and neither will the opportunity. If you've been watching this play out, if you know this was never about hype, but design, like, share and watch this video to the end, because what you're about to see isn't a trend, it's the truth, and it changes everything. The origin of the quiet giant. In a space dominated by noise, XDC was always the exception. No flashy branding, no influencer hype trains, no desperate "we're going to the moon" campaigns, because XDC wasn't built for the crowd. It was built for the system. From the moment it launched, XDC had one clear purpose: to modernize the broken $20+ trillion global trade finance market. Let that sink in. While most crypto projects were obsessed with speed, NFTs, or decentralized memes, XDC was targeting the very arteries of global commerce. Trade finance, the lifeblood of how goods move across borders, how invoices are funded, how credit is extended, how trillions of dollars change hands every year. And yet, it's still stuck in the 1980s. Fax machines, paper documents, 3 to 5 business days for settlements, manual signatures, insane fees, endless middlemen. Enter XDC. From day one, built for institutions, not influencers. Most people have no idea that XDC has been aligning itself with real-world systems since the beginning. Back in 2019, it was already partnering with TradeFinix to tokenize trade instruments. It joined the TFD initiative, a group backed by the International Chamber of Commerce, dedicated to modernizing trade distribution. It integrated with Contour, R3 Corda, and the Digital Standards Initiative, plugging into the exact rails global banks were looking to overhaul. This isn't hype, it's infrastructure. And that's why most retail investors missed it. Because XDC didn't play the typical crypto game. No meme appeal. No clickbait roadmaps. No paid PR campaigns. It just built. While Ethereum was struggling with gas fees, while Solana was crashing under congestion, while influencers pushed garbage onto YouTube, XDC was becoming ISO 20022 compliant. XDC was aligning with central bank pilots. XDC was sitting in the same room as policymakers and trade networks. And the crazy part? Most of this was happening without a spotlight, because the people who needed to know already knew. Why you never heard about it until now? Ask yourself, why didn't you hear about this before? Because XDC wasn't built for retail first, it was built for relevance. The institutions using it don't need to scream on Twitter. The partners integrating it aren't trying to pump the price. They're not interested in speculation, they want functionality. That's why XDC's consensus mechanism is a hybrid delegated proof of stake, D/S. It's energy efficient, scalable, and designed to handle regulated environments. It's why tokenized invoices can be settled in seconds, why banks and fintech platforms can build on top of it without breaking compliance, and why it keeps showing up quietly in trade finance papers, pilot programs, and white-label platforms across Asia, Africa, and the Middle East. This was never a coin. It was always a rail. Most people buy coins. The world's biggest institutions? They invest in infrastructure. And what is XDC? It's the rail that connects fragmented markets. The rail that allows tokenized trade documents to move from port to port, bank to bank, without delays or fees. It's not chasing consumers. It's plugging into the back end of the global economy. So if you're wondering why August 2025 feels like a shift, it's because we've now entered the activation window. Not the white paper stage, not the pilot stage, but the rollout. And the market still doesn't see it. Why August 2025 was no accident. At first glance, August 2025 might look like just another month on the calendar. But under the surface, this moment has been years in the making, quietly engineered by policymakers, central banks, and trade consortiums long before retail investors even knew what tokenization meant. Because while the crypto market was distracted by headlines, collapses, and hype cycles, XDC was syncing itself to a global rollout schedule. And now, we've reached the execution phase. The rollout nobody talked about. Let's break this down. Throughout 2022 to 2024, we saw central banks announcing pilot programs for CBDCs, trade bodies adopting new digital documentation standards, blockchain consortia forming under names like TFD Initiative, ICC-DSI, and World Trade Board. And right in the middle of all that, XDC. You see, while most coins were competing to launch dApps and grab DeFi market share, XDC was becoming the invisible layer connecting digitized trade documents, smart contract-based invoice financing, instant cross-border settlements, tokenized assets on institutional-grade platforms. In short, the foundation of an entirely new financial infrastructure. And here's the punchline. All of it was designed to go live between mid-2025 and early 2026. So when you see news breaking this month about real-world adoption, about live pilots in Asia and the UAE, about interoperability between banks and blockchain, don't be shocked. This was always part of the timeline. The real meaning behind August 2025. This isn't a bull run. It's not alt season. It's activation. Documents being tokenized in real time. Banks shifting from paper to smart contracts. Small and medium businesses accessing capital in hours, not weeks. And most importantly, XDC is at the center of it all. Governments aren't just observing anymore, they're integrating. Trade corridors aren't just testing, they're launching. And partners aren't exploring, they're building with XDC at the core. This is not speculation. It's the scheduled unveiling of a system that's been quietly tested for years. And the moment that rollout goes public, prices don't climb, they reprice. What the market hasn't realized yet. Most of the market still doesn't get it. They're watching charts. They're waiting for influencers. They think crypto moves on memes, narratives, and tweets. But XDC isn't reacting to hype. It's following a blueprint. And while retail is asleep, something massive is happening behind the curtain. Let's break down what 99% of investors are still blind to. 1. This isn't about a coin, it's about control. XDC isn't just a blockchain, it's a financial backbone. The kind of infrastructure that sits underneath banks, governments, and global trade platforms and makes them work faster, smarter, cheaper. The same way TCP/IP powers the internet behind the scenes, XDC is positioning itself as the silent layer powering global trade and finance. The market still sees XDC as a low-cap altcoin. But institutions? They don't see it as a coin at all. They see settlement finality, smart contracts that comply with regulations, ISO 20022 compatibility, real-world integrations. They see rails, and rails run everything. 2. The price doesn't reflect reality yet. Right now, XDC is still flying under the radar. The average retail investor can't even explain what trade finance is. They don't understand the scale, the $20+ trillion problem XDC is solving. They don't know about the trade finance gap in developing nations, The inefficiencies banks are desperate to eliminate. The billions wasted every year on paperwork and delays. If this were a DeFi narrative or an NFT season, XDC would have already gone parabolic. But it isn't, because this isn't a trend. It's a takeover. And the market has never been good at pricing takeovers until they're already done. By the time headlines catch up, by the time influencers start talking, by the time retail notices the volume spike, the revaluation will already be in motion. 3. The institutions are already inside. You think you're early? Maybe. But the institutions? They're already here. Not with hype, but with integration. Trade finance pilots across Asia, Africa, and the Middle East. Banks onboarding the XDC network through white-labeled gateways. Digital asset platforms connecting real-world invoices to tokenized systems. Live. You won't see it on your Twitter feed, but you'll see it in Bank of Thailand's Digital Trade Initiative, Abu Dhabi's pilot platforms, the TFD initiative's public documentation. They're not buying, they're building. And once their systems go public, once adoption is no longer beta, the floodgates will open. And when it does, XDC's price won't act like a coin. It'll act like a protocol the world suddenly realizes it depends on. The trigger event that will wake everyone up. Here's the truth. The groundwork is done. The infrastructure is ready. The integrations are in place. So what's the final piece? A trigger. Because every shift, every revaluation needs a moment. A spark that makes people stop, look back, and realize, oh, it was real the whole time. And for XDC, that moment is coming. So what could that trigger be? Let's break down a few highly possible scenarios that could explode awareness and shift the XDC narrative from altcoin to essential. 1. A major trade deal going fully on-chain. Imagine this. The UAE signs a bilateral trade agreement with India or China. Only this time, the entire process runs on tokenized documents. Letters of credit, invoices, bills of lading, all processed through a smart contract. All secured, time-stamped, and settled in minutes. And guess what rail powers it? XDC. Not in theory, in production. One headline, one press conference, one confirmation, and the market scrambles to price in what institutions already know. XDC isn't coming. It's already here. 2. A central bank acknowledging XDC in a digital trade pilot. We're already seeing it quietly. The Bank of Thailand, the Hong Kong Monetary Authority, the Abu Dhabi Global Market, even regional banks in Africa and Southeast Asia, all experimenting with blockchain-based trade. One public document. One central bank admission that XDC network is part of the trial infrastructure. And everything changes. Because the moment a central bank validates it, Wall Street listens, and the rest of the world follows. 3. A regulatory green light or global compliance breakthrough. Right now, institutions are moving cautiously. But what happens when one of the major regulatory bodies, say, in the EU, UAE, or Singapore, declares that tokenized trade assets on the XDC network are legally recognized? It won't be speculation anymore. It'll be policy. And that's the kind of clarity that unleashes real capital. Billions. Flooding into tokenized invoices, smart contract settlements, and compliant finance layers, all running on XDC. It will no longer be about if. It will be about how much. And the best part? The trigger could come without warning. This is the kind of market-shifting event that won't wait for a bull cycle. It won't show up slowly. It'll hit like a wave. And when it does, retail will chase. Media will scramble. And the price won't just go up, it'll reprice. You don't get many windows like this. Moments where a project is still underpriced, still overlooked, but fully aligned with the next global financial phase. XDC isn't hoping for adoption. It's scheduled into the transformation of trade and finance. And that trigger event could be tomorrow, could be next week. But when it comes, it won't be a pump. It'll be confirmation. The window is cracking open. It always starts the same way. First, silence. Then whispers. Then, one by one, the pieces snap into place. By the time the headlines scream, by the time retail wakes up, the real positioning will already be over. XDC isn't catching up. It's been waiting for the rails to be ready, for the systems to sync, for the trigger to fire. And now, August 2025 is the mark. Not of hype, but of handover. The old financial world is handing off the baton. And XDC is already running the next lap. So if you've connected the dots, if you've seen through the noise, comment, "I see the shift" below. And don't just watch this moment pass you by. Like, share, and subscribe, because this channel doesn't chase headlines. It decodes the future before it's obvious. One protocol at a time. One realignment at a time. This isn't a market move. It's a global transition. You're not early anymore. You're right on time. Stay sharp. Stay positioned. We're just getting started.